Hello students, today I am going to explain chapter 4 metals and non-metals part 1 class 8 science. But before explaining I would like to request that kindly like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel so that you may always get an update of new videos. In this chapter first introduce to you about the metals substance which cannot be broken down into two or more or simpler substances by chemical reactions by applying heat, light and electricity is called an element. The smallest particle of an element is called atom. An element is a substance which is made up of only one kind of atom. Like example, sulfur element is made up of only sulfur atom, whereas iron element is made up of only iron atom. There are only 92 naturally occurring elements known to us. Basically, the element can be classified into metals and non-metals. Metals are iron, copper, silver, gold, and other one is non-metals. That may be sulfur and phosphorus. But one of the category that is metalloids, these elements whose properties are intermediate between those of metals and non-metals are known as metalloids. For example, metals are good conductor of electricity, whereas non-metals do not conduct electricity. But the metalloids are semiconductors. The example of metalloids are silicon, germanium, arsenic, and tellurium. Now metals are always present in nature with some impurities. That's why these are called ores. And some are noble metals. These noble metals typically resist corrosion and oxidation in humid air. And metals are present in the rocks. So that these metals we have to extract out by the process of metallurgy. Now we have to discuss about the physical properties of metals. Metals are malleable and ductile element which are good conductor of heat and electricity. Metals are lustrous and shiny. Metals are usually strong. They cannot be cut easily. All the metals are solid except mercury, which is a liquid at room temperature. Metals have high melting point and boiling point. They have high densities, which means they are heavy. Metals are sonorous, which means the metals make ringing sound. Some of the example of metals like iron, copper, silver, gold, these are the metals. And now we have to explain the physical properties in detail. Like malleability. Malleability is one of the property of the metals. Metals are malleable. The property which allow the metal to be hammered into thin sheet is called malleability. Malleability is important property of metal. Most of the metals are malleable. Gold and silver are the best malleable metals, can be hammered into very fine sheets or foils. It is due to the property of malleability that metals can be bent to form objects of different shapes by beating with a hammer. For example, it is because of property of malleability of iron that an iron smith can change the shape of a block iron metal by hammering to make different shapes. Ductility is the another characteristics of metal. Ductility means the metal can be drawn into thin wires. The property which allow the metal to be drawn into wire is called ductility. And the next one is conductivity. What is conductivity? Metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. Copper, silver, gold, aluminum and iron metals are good conductor of heat. Metal is a best conductor of heat. And the next characteristic is a metal is that is lustrous. Lustrous means shiny appearance. This means the metal have a shiny appearance. We observe the freshly cut surface of metals, will find that they have a shiny appearance. This is called metallic luster. And the next one characteristic of the metals is strength. Metals are usually strong. They have high tensile strength. Sonorousness. Metals are sonorousness, that the this means metals make ringing sound when we strike them. And hardness is one of the characteristic of the metals. Metals are generally hard. This means that most of the metals cannot be cut easily. And metals have high specific gravity. Now we have to discuss about the chemical properties of metals. Metals react with oxygen to form metal oxides. Like magnesium burns in air, it combines with the oxygen of air to form magnesium oxide. That is a basic oxide. Magnesium plus oxygen and it forms magnesium oxide. And sodium sometimes forms react with the oxygen and forms metal sodium oxide. Some metals react with the acid. That how it react with the acid? That react with the, like sodium react with the hydrochloric acid and forms sodium hydrochloride. So sodium hydrochloride means that is a salt. And some metals react with the water. When a metal react with water, then metal hydroxide and hydrogen gas are formed. Like metal plus water give rise to metal hydroxide plus hydrogen. Like sodium metal react violently or explosively with cold water, forming sodium hydroxide solution and hydrogen gas. The gas liberated when sodium metal or any other metal react with the water is hydrogen. Now one of the important thing I am telling you, that is sodium is a very reactive metal. So that always sodium metal is stored in under the kerosene. Some metals react with the acid also. Most of the metals react with acid and form salt and hydrogen. That I had already told you. There are some reactivity series. Reactivity series that reacts the most reactive metal is potassium. That you have seen in this chart, that most reactive metal is potassium and the least reactive metal is gold. Potassium is the most reactive metal, so it has been placed at the top of the reactivity series. As we come down in the reactivity series, the chemical reactivity of metal decreases gradually. For example, sodium is less reactive. Sodium is less reactive than potassium. Calcium is less reactive than sodium. Magnesium is less reactive than calcium. Aluminium is less reactive than magnesium. Zinc is less reactive than aluminium. Iron is less reactive than zinc. Copper is less reactive than iron. And silver is less reactive than copper. Gold being the least reactive metal and has been placed at the bottom of the reactivity series. Now, corrosion of metals. Most of the metals are react with the moist air and that are corrode. That forms the corrosion, that forms the rust on the metal object, and this is due to the reactivity. The iron or some other metals that are react with the moist air and forms corrosion on the particular metal object. We have to prevent the corrosion with the help of different things, the prevented cannot be allowing air to come in contact with the metal. Some methods are like galvanization. Galvanization is the process of applying a protective zinc coating to iron or steel. And the electroplating is the coating of an object with a metal. It involves passing an electric current through a solution called an electrolyte. What is anodizing of aluminum? Aluminum anodizing is a electrochemical process in which an oxide layer is chemically built on the surface of metal. An alloy is a combination of metals combined with one or more other element. Gold and copper produces red gold. So these are the process we have to protect the metal from the corrosion. There are some alloys. Alloys is a mixture of one or two metals, and it that are the properties of alloying can be used. Hardness of the metals. Alloying is used to make metal more resistant from the corrosion. So alloys, what is the property of the alloy? That make the metal more resistant from the corrosion. Now uses of metals. What are the uses of metals? Like iron, copper and aluminum metal are used to make cooking utensils and water boilers for factories. Copper metal is used for making electric wires for household wiring, electric motors, armatures and dynamos. Aluminum foils are used for packaging medicine, chocolates, food items and many other materials. Aluminum metal is used to make aeroplane also, and iron metal is used to make nails, screws, pipes and gas cylinders. There are some other uses of metals like zinc. Zinc metal is used for the galvanizing of iron to protect from rusting. Rusting I had already explained to you, that is protect from the rusting is a due to the moist air that deposited rust on the metal. And silver and gold metals are used to make jewelry, but the mercury is used in making thermometers. One of the important thing I'm telling you, that is in our body iron is present in pigment of red blood cells, hemoglobin, so which transport oxygen from the lungs to all tissues of our body. So these are the uses of metals that are very helpful for in our daily life. Some of the important metals like chromium is used in the handle of bicycles, and nickel is electroplated, and other metals that is resistant from the corrosion, and mercury is a liquid at room temperature, so that it is used in the thermometer and barometer. Some of the noble metal. Why we call noble metal? Because that noble metal does not corrode and are present at the bottom of the reactivity, because they are very less reactive and they are not react with the acid alkalis. That's why these are noble metals, and in this category the platinum is also one of the noble metal. Thank you student, thank you all of you.